In this lesson, you will learn about factors. You learn how to create them, learn how to create them from characters and from integers. You learn how to create ordinal factors, and you learn how to convert factors to characters and to integers. But to begin, I'll introduce you to a function, the combined function, which is represented with C in R. And what the combined function does is it allows you to combine multiple objects, elements, or variables into one. For example, we have A, B, and C. This is combined as one. We can also combine numbers 1, 2, and 3. What if we have different numbers or a character, for example, lady, in different variables, A, B, C, like that? Of course, we can print them A, B, and C. We can combine these different objects as one using the C function. So for factors, what factors does is it takes in an object, usually a character, but also it can be an integer. Yeah, we pass in the object, which is C in this case. We can take this, then pass it in here, and we have just lady as one. This should be copied like this. And here we have 1, 2, and lady. And if you notice, we have levels printed out. What about if we copy ABC, which we have here, and we pass it into factor? We have A, B, and C. Now I'm going to increase the number of elements which we have. Then A, then we have C, then B. And this is A, B, C. As we can see, the number of elements increased, but the number of levels, it remains the same. As we see here, what level does is it shows us the distinct or unique elements that we have. Here, as you can see that this is quite a lot. If we want to count it, the function length can tell us the total number of elements that we have. And we have 8 elements here. I will say that the levels is 3. And to print the levels, we use the levels function. And we take this into that. Of course, you can assign this to a variable if you want. But here the levels are printed A, B, and C. Creating factors from character. Of course, most of what we've been doing have been creating factors from character. I'll show you this to make something clear to you. For example, we create the variable gender and we assign the elements male, female, male, female, and female, female, and female. Now we have gender. If we check the type of, we see that it's a character. If we also check the class, it's also a character. So to change this to a factor, what we need to do is we take the factor function and simply pass the variable name in it. And here we go. And if you notice this, you'll see that this is ordered alphabetically, while the print one here is according to how it is written out here. So levels always follow a certain type of arrangement, except otherwise specified. Now I'm going to show you another example. I'll call this gender 2. And with gender 2, we are only going to have females. So I'll copy this and paste it here. And here we have gender 2. Now to create a factor from this, we simply pass gender 2 to it. But now I will identify the levels, which is a parameter. And the levels are male and female. Let's say, for example, in our survey, the people that we interviewed are only female. Now, on running this, we see that the levels remain the same, even when male is not present in the survey data we collected. And that's why factors are very, very important. And I'm going to show you something else which we discussed in the last lesson. We assigned this first. We assigned this to gender factor, the variable gender factor. And if we check the class of gender factor, we see that it's factor. But if we check the type of object that gender factor is, we see that it's an integer. As I said in the last class, factors are built on integers, and this is what makes them very important, especially when you want to perform some modeling. Now we can create factors from integers, let's say 1 to 5, and this we create a sequence of number from 1 to 5. The interesting thing with using the colon is it creates an integer class automatically. If you check the class, we see it's an integer. If you check the type of also of 1 to 5, it's also an integer. So what this ensures is we can easily create integer. And I'm going to pass this into the factor function. Factor 1 to 5. And here we have it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, if there are extra numbers there, it's going to just include the unique elements that are present. Now I'm going to also introduce you to another important argument of the factor function, which is the label. Take, for example, in a survey, to see how satisfied we are with a particular product, I will get the data. So the labels, before the labels, we need to identify the levels. The levels is equal to 1 to 5, 2, and the labels. For the labels, 1 is very dissatisfied. Then we have dissatisfied, that's 2. Satisfied, that's 2. Then we have fairly satisfied, fairly satisfied. Then satisfied. Then we have ecstatic, or if you prepare, very satisfied. Now, on running this, we see we have the levels. And the levels now is not 1 to 5, but instead it is replaced with the labels. Like, for example, MFM, which we have here, gender. We can say gender, the factor of gender. Then we say the labels is equals to, we have male and female. Why the levels? Of course, we have M and F. M and F. And on running this, we see that MF is replaced with male and female. So this is another important thing to note about factors. Now we move to ordinal factors. And as discussed in the last lesson, ordinal factors, they have ranks, they have levels. You can tell if one is greater than the other or not. So we'll take an example for this, our ranking here. I will assign this to the variable satisfaction ranking. Now I can try to confirm if satisfaction ranking is ordered. And to check if it is ordered, I'll use is.ordered function and pass in the variable. Then it shows that yes, indeed, it's not ordered. There are two ways we can make this ordered. The first way is we can pass into the function ordered, the variable. Then we see this lesser than, meaning that the highest is ecstatic and the lowest is very satisfied, as it is lesser than dissatisfied, and dissatisfied lesser than fairly satisfied. Oh, there's a wrong spelling. Yeah. So I hope you get the gist of it though. Another way we can create ordered factor, aside from using the ordered function, which I advise is very good, is to use the parameter ordered. And what ordered does is it takes in a Boolean value or a logical value, true or false. So on saying true, we have this also. We can see the ranking. Yeah. Now next, and to conclude, we convert factors to integers and also to characters. Now we have the factor satisfaction ranking here. I can call this ordered satisfaction. So we use ordered satisfaction. For ordered satisfaction to convert to character, what we do is as.character. We use the as.character. Then we pass in the object. And here we have it. Already a character. We can also enclose this or nest this in the function is.character to further confirm if this is a character. And on doing that, we see that it returns true. So we can simply take this, copy it out if you want, then paste it here. Then we can assign it satisfaction to a variable. And on printing satisfaction, you see you always have a character. Now, next is converting factors to integers. And to convert factors to integers, we use the is.integer. But notice the interesting thing that happens, given that the factors we created so far may appear as character values, but internally they are stored as integers. Now we will confirm their underlying structure as integer code. So we pass the ordered satisfaction object into the is.integer function. We use as dot, not is dot. And as dot integer shows we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about if we use it for gender factor? As dot integer for gender factor, we have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And the reason why it's 2 is because in the levels, m comes first. Now, if m is to come second, the levels will change. Now, it's still the same gender factor, but now I've changed the levels. Now, if we are to check as dot integer, we see that it has changed to 1 because female comes first in the levels. So, I hope you got the gist of creating factors in this class, and also how to create them from characters, how to create them from integers, and how to convert factors to characters and to integers, and lastly, how to create ordinal factors.